or whatever it takes, by any means necessary. Failure is not an option.
Did you have some primary goals as their deputy bureau chief? And what did you do to, what did you require of the journalists who were coming up behind you? You talked about the folks who mentored you. What was your bar, and what did you expect of the journalists under you?
You know, I look at some of the next generation of journalists, and I wanted them to be good reporters. I wanted them to really care about the reporting, the investigative reporting. You know, there are so many people, when I would go to NABJ meetings and sit in the booth, and people would say, I want to be an anchor. And I would like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
this is so not about I want to be an anchor. This is like, what are you reading? You know, what are you studying? Who are you exposing who is doing wrong things? That was what I was really, really interested in. So Gwen Ifill was a good buddy of mine, along with a number of other folks from, we're all kind of in the same age range, and Gwen was, just kind of the gold standard to what one should be.
Yeah, that's still, especially as they get younger and they're not coming in with as much journalism experience as opposed to more theatrical, and that's no disrespect to, very talented journalists, but coming, who didn't have, Lee Thornton was my professor at Howard. And so here's the bar, right? There's no, I want to be an anchor. I want to be a researcher. I want to be a storyteller. I want to help, right the ship of the narrative, So when you hear them say, I want to be on anchor, I want to be on TV, I want to be like you, and you're like, no, baby, this didn't just happen like this. Right. So yeah, it is interesting that you say that. And I'm glad that you said that, because that leads me to the next question then. Your advice then to young people who are interested in, and I'll broaden it since you talk a lot about creatives, and because your career transitioned from journalism to having a more creative control platform, your advice to women, the high schoolers who are watching, the college students who are watching, how do you create a space in this news industry, especially with what it looks like right now, or transitioning out into doing something different? What's your advice?
I really, to study hard, to be widely read. When I wake up in the morning, I listen to NPR. I suspect that that's probably going to be boring to a lot of young people, but what I love about it is that it gives me a broad view of what's going on in the world. I listen to BBC Radio. I think I read every morning. I read 4 or 5 newsletters that are about media, that are about politics. I still have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Washington Post. I very rarely make it through the print versions, but I have access online, and I read the articles that are online. I talk to a wide range of people, but I just think it's really important to, especially if you want to be in journalism, to understand what's going on politically, but it's also understand history. I have you can see behind me, this is a small portion of the books that are in my house, but history informs my understanding of current events. And especially right now, as we are on this cusp of being able to have a more expansive view of who we are in America, there is what has always happened, a backlash and a pushback to telling this story. There is a reason why Nikole Hannah-Jones' 1619 in the New York Times is being attacked, because she's telling the truth. And yes, there are some few things that some historians don't like, but by and large, what that project did was to reframe American history. And we have to understand the history of America, the economics, the politics, all of those things, in order to understand where we are now. So, yes, it's fun to read the entertainment news, and it's fun to know who's doing what on Instagram, and it's all of that stuff. I like that stuff, but we really need to understand our politics and our history.
All I want